Get started today. Golfly is offering the National Golf Course Association and why am I having such a hard time reading that?
But like, if you fuck up, it's okay because it kind of adds
Yeah,
to
it
the
adds to
character of the.
Yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Stop being
one
so
more time.
fucking professional.
Golfly. Okay, take 4. Experience and knowledge with turnkey solutions. Golfly brings a wealth of knowledge and experience working with small and medium-sized golf courses. From the back shop to the board of directors, turf management, digital marketing, and finances. Golfly has a wide knowledge of understanding in golf operations. Does this sound like something that your golf course needs? Get started today. Golfly is offering National Golf Course Owners Association and Northern Golf Association members an exclusive 6-month free website subscription. Visit golfly.ca for more details and take your game to the next level. Here we are. Episode number 2, Coast to Coast podcast, baby. Man, am I ever feeling it, Shell? Am I ever feeling it?
Feeling what?
Well, I'm wearing my Oilers jersey. So, number 1, I'm not an Oilers fan. Don't get me wrong. You guys all know that I'm a Leafs fan, or most of you guys know that I'm a Leafs fan. But obviously, Edmonton has become Canada's team. And I'm feeling it. I feel it right now. Look, we're recording this episode on.
I think you said feel it like 10 times.
I've said it. I'm going to say it 2 more times.
All right.
I feel the feels for Edmonton tonight.
I feel the feels.
I feel the feels, baby.
Let's do it.
Oh, yes. Like I said, welcome Coast to Coast, episode number 2. I'm Potts. He is Shelly. And thank you very much.
No, Vicky Miette told me my mic was too much in my face, so I figure I should put it lower.
Get it lower a bit.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let those people see those beautiful lips. Man, we've had
that's only on YouTube, not on Spotify and Apple Music. You cannot see my lips, but on YouTube you can.
So we had the week, like it's been with episode number 1 that came out last Monday. Honestly, I cannot even express the gratitude and the excitement that I have for like this episode. And, going forward, like we've had, sponsors step up that want to be a part of our podcast. Tons of people have just reached out and said, "Hey, fantastic job. We can't wait for the next episode." Like this is fucking awesome.
It's good. It's good. It's funny how people want to listen to 2 fat guys talk about hockey.
Yeah. And we, like you said last week, we really don't know that much about the game.
Wow.
We do a little bit.
But
I mean, a lot of the shit that we talk about on our episodes are just it's just banter.
Yeah, move it along there.
Yeah.
Move it along.
Moving along.
Move it along.
So that was episode 1. This is episode 2, as I said, and we have obviously, like I said, we have a bunch of sponsors that stepped up, and Shelly, I'm going to let you talk about our new sponsor, the official beer of the Coast to Coast podcast.
Oh yeah, baby! Look at this. Oh no, I can do that now. 1 sec.
Yeah,
let's go.
So Johnny and Benji at Full Beard Brewing Company have graciously donated beer to the podcast, and Shelly will tell us a little bit about this week's beer.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Full Beard Brewing's Hazy State of Mind. My favorite beer of all Full Beard beers. Actually, their Madder Than a Wet Hen is very good too. Their new one.
Oh, I haven't had
it's a Johnny's gonna give me shit for this. Kentucky Common. That's the type of beer. Anyways, it's very good. It's like kind of like a red ale. Anyways, so the Hazy State of Mind is my favorite beer, and this is a hazy IPA from Full Beard Brewing. So again, thanks to the boys at Full Beard, and we're looking forward to this partnership. And you know what, we're gonna go do a pod at the brewery itself. So it's gonna be we'll probably do that one live, eh?
Yeah, that one will probably be if not our first one, because we also have another sponsor that's stepped up last week and said, hey, you guys need to come. We're going to get on board, but the only deal is that you guys have to come do the pod in our restaurant. So that'll be coming up probably sometime in July. Not probably, but sometime in July. There it is. Look at how hazy that looks. Delicious. How is it?
Refreshing.
There we go. All right. So shout out again to Full Beard Brewing Company. Hazy State of Mind is the featured beer for this week's Coast to Coast podcast.
Potts can't really talk today, so
yeah.
this is going to be a good pod, guys. Because
Well-
he's like,
Yeah.
he's having a time.
Having a rough go. And speaking of rough goes, we had a rough go this weekend, not only in the clubhouse on the 19th hole, but on the course for 18 holes at the Flyers 3-person challenge. We talked about it on last week's pod that we were looking forward to it. You know, the team of myself, Shelly, and our boy Stats Guy Zach.
That's guys.
And you know, we got some exciting news later on in the pod. In the later segments, we will be hearing from Stats Guy Zach. We were able to convince him on the weekend to make an appearance on the pod, so he will be joining us a little bit later on. But yeah, here's the news from the weekend. This is what it comes down to: -1. Sorry, not even. I fucked that up. Even on Saturday.
DQ'd.
We should have been DQ'd because we also fucked up on our scorecard that we submitted to the tournament. But seeing that the Flyers 3-person challenge is a fun tournament, the tournament committee, headed by myself, made the decision to not disqualify us from the tournament. I'm just kidding. I'm not the head of that Andre Robichaud at the golf course and our good buddy Pat Miette. They are the two boys that take the lead on that tournament every year, and they do a fantastic job. And it was a blast for everybody. So even on Saturday, -5.
Drank a lot of Full Beard brews.
We did, and I think you even texted Johnny at one point on, I forget if it was Saturday or Sunday.
It was Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Which you know, after having so many on Saturday, I wouldn't have thought we would have continued on Sunday, but we did. And anyways, we had a good time.
It's so cold.
It was, yeah. Talk about your experience on Sunday, like the weather conditions.
Oh, it was amazing. It was the best day for golf. Like,
So
I'm surprised it didn't snow, to be honest. Like it was. But hey,
4 degrees, I think 3.
I never had a pair of rain gloves in my life.
Yeah.
And those things blew my mind.
Yeah, you bought those after the front 9, eh? Yeah, I think so, because we were frozen.
Yeah.
You showed up to the golf course in shorts.
Yeah.
With,
Yeah, I didn't really go outside and see what or
Didn't
check the
check the
weather.
forecast.
No. I was.
Oh man! But anyways, we really turned it around. We turned our golf game around on Sunday.
Okay,
Well, you turned your golf
next
game
year.
around. Yep.
Afternoon. We're playing in the afternoon
Well,
on Sunday.
It's been 2 years in a row that we end up in the morning flight on Sunday. We just got to try to keep it clean on the course. Like you can't.
Flora scored again.
Hey. Oh no. No.
Oh no, it was a
That's a
replay.
replay. So as we record this episode, like I said, this is being recorded on Monday. The pod will be released on Tuesday on all of our platforms. The Oilers and Panthers Stanley Cup final. We talked about it last week, how the Oilers could clinch. They did that same night against the Dallas Stars. Connor McDavid, McJesus, as my good buddy Shelly likes to call him.
McJesus.
Really came through in the clutch. And as we sit tonight, you know, obviously Florida took game 1, but as we sit tonight, it is a 1-1 tie going into the second period. So that brings us into my next point is let's talk a little bit about this unorthodox Stanley Cup final with the Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers. I think probably some people may have predicted this would happen, but it probably isn't your typical Stanley Cup final that most people would have predicted. What do you think?
No. Like again, like in with our interview with Brandon Perry, we talked about it, which you're going to hear later, but we recorded it before this, so it's all confusing. But we'll get to it. We're just chatting about which teams were kind of supposed to perform and supposed to win, but like it's a Stanley Cup playoff, so like you don't know. You'll never know.
And we talked about parody with Perry. Parody with Perry. There's a new segment.
Parody with Perry.
But we said it, and it is, you don't know, because there's so much parity in the league. Game one on Saturday night. I mean, obviously, Bobrovsky was the story, right? 32 saves against the Oilers, and the big guys came out flying. Like McDavid was going on Saturday. Draisaitl was flying. Hyman had a couple of point blank chances. Like Bobrovsky just shut everything
and
down.
And unfortunately, I think that's what's going to come down to is goaltending, which sucks because Edmonton does have a team to kind of to win, and and if goaltending's so tough. You can get a goalie that just comes out of nowhere and Officer Bobrovsky, as
Jay
Onrait would call him.
Bobrovsky.
Okay, let's stop.
Sorry.
Just fucking stop. Okay. But yeah, you can have a goalie that comes, but Bobrovsky, he's been known to be good in the league, but then he was good, then he was bad, then he came back, and now he's good again. Goaltending such a year to year, and you could have a rookie goalie come in and play lights out.
Yep. Well, look at Vegas last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Adin Hill.
Exactly. And it's so, and you think you have a good goalie in Skinner, and it's tough.
It's a tough league to win. There's 32 teams, like we said, soon to be 33, and there's only one Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
and it's unbelievably difficult to win that Stanley Cup. It's unbelievably difficult to win multiple playoff series, and we know as Leaf fans, right, how tough that is.
Marty,
yeah,
this side.
Yeah, you got him on the wrong side there, but no. It's just even McDavid, and look, he's won playoff rounds. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's getting to this point at this stage of his career. He's in the prime. He's in the absolute prime of his career.
Yeah,
and he's probably got another 6 years or so to be in that prime. But I mean, he really wants to take advantage of this, now. Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You're there, right?
You're there. He's 4 wins away from his first Stanley Cup. And
Edmonton's first Stanley Cup final appearance since 2006.
2006. And I was watching. I got one of these.
Got a question for you. Who'd they lose to? They lost in 7.
Yeah, they lost to the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rod Brindamore was playing back then. Actually, it was funny because I watched a video on, I think it was on TikTok or whatever. It was one of those reels that you call them now. Is that what we call them? The short clips, reels. And it was, I think it was Edmonton against San Jose. Joe Thornton was playing. And, it just brought me back to that Oilers team after watching that short clip. Sean Horkoff had scored the game-winning goal in triple overtime of the one game that was playing. I don't know which game it was. And then they were walking back into the Oilers dressing room after they had celebrated. There was, Fernando Pisani. These are just, right? Ethan Morrow. There was this big Jason Smith on defense.
Yeah.
I was Dwayne Rollison was the
yeah.
Right? Ryan Smith was still there, Captain Canada.
Oh, yeah.
I was man, that Oilers team, Chris Pronger was there. I was man, that Oilers team, they were not stacked by any stretch, but that 2006 Oilers team was built for the playoffs. And any team Chris Pronger was on, for those that know the game that Chris Pronger played, he was an ultimate playoff performer.
Is that Ariana Grande?
Yeah, I think that's Ariana Grande. They're just showing her on the screen there. So Ariana Grande is at the Stanley Cup Final Game 2 tonight in Florida.
Florida.
And I think so was, who's the Brooks Koepka? Brooksy.
He was there too?
He's there tonight too. And he's getting ready for a big week. So he's probably heading out the U.S. Open this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the pod.
Yeah. Canadian Open just happened.
Yeah. We talked about that last week. Obviously. Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler won another tournament.
Yeah, the Memorial this weekend. I think the Memorial is Tiger's tournament. And Tiger was there. And there's a picture of Tiger on the 18th green overlooking the 18th green. and Scheffler was putting one of his last putts or whatever, and it almost made me feel like it was like that. Seeing that picture, it was like Tiger passing on the baton to Scotty as you're now the GOAT. You're now the guy that's going to carry the PGA Tour, because he really has carried the PGA Tour. And
I think it's like just 4 of his last 6 or 4 of his last 7 tournaments. I don't know. Stats guy Zach, can you check that out, please?
Yeah, he's going to get that on that for us. He's been pretty accurate for most of his stats. Stats guy Zach, and like I said, we got him coming up on the pod later. Let's get back to the Stanley Cup final. We'll talk a little bit of golf later. Shelley,
what year? Yeah, did the Edmonton Oilers last win a cup?
Oh, it must have been in the 80s when Gretzky was there.
No.
1990. Was Gretzky there? No, Gretzky had gone. I think, and I think they won a cup without Gretzky. Yeah, Messier and Curry were still all there. The boys were still in town, but Gretz said,
"I got to go grow the game."
Yeah, I promised Mess I wouldn't do this.
Yeah,
promised Mess I wouldn't cry. Whatever the line was from Wayne Gretzky, but 1990 was the last time they won.
Yeah.
And the Florida Panthers have never won a Stanley Cup. They've been to the Cup final. This is now their 3rd time, and have never won a Stanley Cup. So
back to back.
And you know what? Most of the time, you learn a lot from your first appearance when you don't win it. Right? We talked about it last week, where what was Pittsburgh and Detroit.
And I think that's what happened in Game 1.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's kind of like, they've been there. They kind of, they know the hype about it and all the show around the Stanley Cup Finals, and Edmonton just, now they're settling in their own. Like now we got a game.
Yeah.
So
something new as well of the Stanley Cup Final. I was listening to an interview on NHL Network Radio on Sirius XM today, and Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly.
That was a lot of shout outs to
No, I wasn't shouting out anybody.
Just a serious.
Well, I was crediting my source.
Yeah.
I was crediting my source.
But it just was very official. It sounded like you were on Sportsnet for a second. But that's good. You're loud. You speak very well.
Thank you.
People said that. They're like, hey, Darren speaks very well. I'm like, yeah, well, thanks. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, my dad said the same thing, but he called me to give me shit because he said I said fuck too much in the pod. So
you did, yeah. You kind of went trigger happy on it a little bit.
I'm gonna try to cut it back a little bit this week. I promise. So I think I've already maxed out my quota on the F-bombs. Nonetheless, Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly, they asked him about the cup being in the building in Game 1, and that was new. That had never happened before. The cup was in the building for Game 1. And it was used as a prop. And he said he was asked why the cup.
What do you mean a prop? Like
just as a prop, I guess, for TV.
Okay.
I think that's all it was. I don't know if they actually showed it in the building that night. Obviously, we weren't there, but I mean, I think they just used it as a prop for TV to show that, hey, this is the Cup final type of thing. And the NHL asked both teams for permission before they did this. So I thought that was kind of interesting that it's their cup. They can kind of do whatever the hell they want with it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, the cup was in the building on Game 1. I don't know if it's in the building for Game 2, but Ariana Grande definitely is in the building.
She is.
So that's what's going on in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Man, I think this is going to be a 7-game series, and I'm gonna give you my prediction first. Obviously, I think just by judging at the jersey that I'm wearing. And also, I do have to give a shout out to Player X, which is a good buddy of ours, franchise Francis Lamontagne, who he operates Player X, which is, and we'll get into that in future pods because he is gonna be one of our oncoming sponsors. But he shout out to him for the jersey. He gave me this one to wear for tonight's pod.
But our sponsor this week is
Golfly.
And
yeah,
I kind of sponsored the Cap Golf Course in terms of the amount of beer I bought this weekend. But
yeah. Well, and did they give you any shout outs? We give a lot of shout outs to our sponsors on the Coast to Coast podcast.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear any shout outs to Power Play Hockey for at the presentations although I did the presentations. I didn't think of that, to be honest with you. I should have gave you a little shout out, but
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
I just
No. Hey, let's get back to hockey.
Yeah. Back to hockey.
Corey Perry.
Yeah. What about him?
He's playing in another cup final.
Yeah. What was the stat that I saw?
I don't know. I was trying to get stats guy Zach on it, but he wasn't answering me.
Well, so I think the stat that I saw was Corey Perry is the first player in NHL history to play in.
You're so smart there.
Corey Perry is the first player in NHL history to be in to be in the Stanley Cup final with 5 different teams: Anaheim, Dallas, Tampa Bay, Montreal, and now the Edmonton Oilers, which is like, man, the Leafs got to go get Corey Perry this summer because
he's
it's like an automatic ticket to the Stanley Cup.
39 years old.
Yeah, but he's not in the lineup tonight though.
He's not in the lineup.
No, the Oilers scratched him and Cody Ceci, former Maple Leaf. Cody Ceci is one of the 2 changes to the lineups that the Oilers made. Anyways, let's get back into predictions. We got lots to talk about on this week's show. But my prediction, I'm going Oilers in 7. And I agree with what you're going to say because I already know what you're going to say when it comes to the style of game that Florida plays. I called them Tampa almost, but they do remind me a lot of Tampa when they won the Cup.
Yep.
Or when they went on that crazy run when they made like 3 straight Cup finals. But I just think that Stuart Skinner will figure it out. He will. And I think that at one point in the series, and it might be tonight, it might be next game, Connor McDavid will take over because he's just that damn good.
Yeah, but he is, and I want that to happen. I just think Florida's too deep. And they just play like a relentless style of hockey that
they do. I agree.
Like my heart's in Edmonton and for this, but anyways, I don't know. I think Florida's going to win, but I want Edmonton to win, so I'm torn.
So,
like Natalie Imbruglia, I'm torn. Did you see the mime doing like the torn thing for that song?
No, I didn't.
Anyways, go on YouTube,
okay,
and watch. Anyways, mime doing "Torn" by Natalie Imbruglia.
Imbruglia.
Yeah,
that's old.
Yeah, it's really old. It's like
I'm thinking like Now 3 maybe. Like remember those Now CDs?
Yeah.
Like
Big Shiny Tunes was those were good, man.
Oh yeah, like we were like what grade? Well, you're a little bit older than I am, but I was probably in like grade
1 year older.
No, I think 2.
No,
just 1. Well, you're an 86?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were an 85. People are like, "What the fuck? Potts is an 87? He looks like he's like a 73." I got to tell you a funny story, okay? So, getting away from the Stanley Cup playoffs, or Stanley Cup finals. So, talk about my age. So, I can't name the individual because I do want to protect him in case he doesn't want me to tell the story. But I'm at work at one day, and this guy was driving for us, going to doing like jockey drives, and he plays golf. So he comes from across the showroom. From where I work at the LaCour Motor Sales Ford dealership, from across the showroom, and he yells out, "Hey, Potts! Yeah. Are you playing in the seniors in Moonbeam on Monday?" So I responded.
Oh God, there's the snort again.
I responded, "How old do you got to be to play in the seniors?" He's like, 55. I said, "How the fuck old do you think I am?" 56. I was like, "Oh man,
You were 36 at the time?
I'm 36 now. This is like 4 years ago. I was like 32. I couldn't believe what I was hearing."
Oh,
and if you know if you know who he is, like the voice that this guy has, it's just like, "Hey, Potts!" At my work. Talk about embarrassing.
Ugh.
Anyways, let's wrap it up. Stanley Cup playoffs. I got the Oilers in 7. I just want it for the record. What are you taking, Shell?
What?
What's your prediction? I got Oilers in 7. What are you taking?
Got Florida in 6.
Florida in 6. Currently 1-1, Game 2, Oilers and Florida Panthers. One of the teams that we love to talk about that is not in the Stanley Cup Finals, and as a matter of fact, is not even able to win more than one playoff round in the last 20 years. And they've been a subject, as always, of a lot of speculation in the last week or so. And one of the hot topics that I had on our list to talk about, I actually saw a rumor today that we're definitely going to talk about on the pod, but is the Toronto Maple Leafs. We talked a little bit about them last week. Who? Yeah, your boy Matty there.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about them last week. Oh, fuck, it's 2-1 Florida. We talked a little bit about them last week. It's, the coaching change, what happens with Marner, what happens with Tavares. Since then, there's been a lot of speculation on Mitch Marner. The agent for Mitch Marner came out last week. I think, the big dogs of the insider world, Pierre LeBrun, Elliot Friedman, all those guys, they've all reported on it. That, Mitch Marner has not submitted no movement because he does have a full no trade clause. He decides where he wants to go, right? For those that don't know, he decides where he wants to go. And the Leafs can request a list of teams that he would accept a trade to. But the agent for Mitch Marner apparently has now come out and said, we're not going anywhere. We're going to play out our final year of our contract, and we're going to see how things go. Now, there's a bunch of different takes that I have on this, right? And I'm definitely not one. The Leafs need change, and I said this last week, the Leafs need change. But I definitely don't want to make change just for the sake of making change. The Leafs still have to get to the playoffs if they want to win playoff rounds. Now, if they don't have Mitch Marner in their lineup, will they still get to the playoffs? They probably should, okay? But they need to get better. They can't just remove Marner and not get better. They need to get better. So I got a bunch of different ways I can go about this. And I know that, there's the new coach that plays into it. But the one thing that I have to say about the new coach is that, and everybody's like, oh, you're going to see, man, Marner, he's going to have, Berube now, who's a hard-ass coach. He's not like Keefe at all. Well, I don't know if you heard of a guy named Mike Babcock. I know that he's, frowned upon to talk about in the NHL now, but, he's a pretty hard-ass coach, Shell.
Yeah, yeah.
He coached Mitch Marner.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I think Mitch Marner played well under Mike Babcock, a lot better than he did, especially in the playoffs, than he did under Sheldon Keefe.
Yeah, I think the change in coaching is going to do good just in terms of kind of switching things up because they've been doing the same thing for the last, 4 years.
8 years.
I
know.
Double that, yeah.
I know.
I was a guess. I didn't have Stats Guy Zach on that one, but... No, I think something's got to change. Like, yes, they have good players and they have success in the season, but they can't pull it off in playoffs. And it. And we chatted a little bit about that last week. But is Mitch Marner a playoff player?
Well, and that's
what he has to decide. I think is just and I'm not criticizing the guy. He's got tons of talent, and I love to watch him play. And but is there too much focus on the big four that and especially when you saw the game that Matthews was trying to get 70, they're just it was horrible to watch.
Yeah, it wasn't good hockey.
No, and
it probably set them up for. I don't know if you remember Game 1 against Boston. It was a blunder of a game.
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
It was probably not probably. It was definitely
their worst game. It was tough to watch, and and thinking about Mitch Marner and would he be better going somewhere else? like obviously he loves playing for Toronto and everything, but like
Well, he's from there.
yeah,
Why
yeah,
wouldn't he be, right?
no, exactly. But I think with a bit less kind of, if he's not under the microscope as much, and I think he'd do a lot better.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that as much as the Leafs, like I said, and the Leafs need to make a move that makes sense for them.
Yeah,
right.
Well, yeah,
and yes, Mitch Marner demands $11 million, and yes, you do not want Mitch Marner to walk on July 1st, 2025 for nothing.
No,
and that would be a dagger if that happened, right?
Yeah.
If Mitch Marner leaves the Scotiabank Arena sometime, hopefully next June, but in all likelihood sometime in May next year, and that's the last time he ever steps foot into the Leafs dressing room, and there's nothing that's coming back in return, that's a bigger failure than not being able to trade him this summer.
Yeah.
Right? But the one thing that I found really interesting is last year when Tree Living came in and became the general manager, the first two things that he said is, my priorities are to sign Matthews and Nylander. Those were the two priorities that he had at the top of his list. He has never mentioned re-signing Mitch Marner. Not once since the end of last season. All he keeps saying is we need to make our team better. And he's right. They do.
Yeah.
But is this indicating that maybe the Leafs are better without Mitch Marner?
Potentially.
That's the question that only he has the answer to, and maybe some of the players on the Leafs lineup. But I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting few weeks. They call the NHL silly season, as they like to call it. Where it gets really dicey from July 1st, and players are moved and players are signed at stupid money. There's a ton of money that gets handed out on July 1st, and now that the cap went up this year, it's going to be even worse. So
it had to go up, though.
Oh yeah, for sure it did.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, we'll monitor the Mitch Marner situation. We'll see where that goes. The goaltending situation is another one. We have Samsonov, who's unrestricted free agent. Joseph Woll, who can't seem to stay healthy if his life depended on it. And today I read an article that said that the Leafs were attached to Jacob Markstrom rumors from Calgary, which, the Flames have been trying to trade him. So could he maybe be a fit? I mean, he's a pretty good goalie.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
We're watching in the Stanley Cup Finals. What have we talked about since Saturday night? Goaltending.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Right?
There's goalies that get hot at certain times, and Skinner did the job all year, and now it's struggling a little bit, but it's
different. Like, goaltending is so weird compared to every other main position in any other sport, right?
Yeah.
I can always compare goaltending to your starting pitcher or your quarterback in football, right? That's basically what it is. But
you have a direct effect on the game,
Yeah.
But yes, it's a team sport, and but you can win games.
You'll never
just
see
with goaltending.
Absolutely, for sure you will. And Florida won game 1 on Saturday based on that. But you will never see a rookie quarterback step into an AFC championship game.
No.
And hope for the best. Edmonton. And I know that football is different because it's a 1-game series, so it's you win, and if you lose, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I don't know, Edmonton put, what is it, Calvin Pickard, whoever it was in the conference final against for a couple of games. They went back to Skinner, but you would never see that in any other sport. In baseball, you're going to ride your ace, you're going to ride your top guy. But I find hockey so particular in that case, where it's I don't know, Joseph Woll obviously is, he's a massive Band-Aid for the Leafs, but they do need that number one guy, and he can step in and win them the big games when they have to.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't go into the season, I don't think, with him being your number one guy and not having any kind of insurance. And I don't think Samsonov's the answer either. That's my opinion, but he hasn't been much better in the big situations.
Yeah, it's I think gotta find a goalie, man.
You have to find a goalie.
You've got to find a number one.
And they don't have a lot of. They have $20 million or something or so, but they don't have a lot of money to play with.
Yeah.
You have to find a goalie for like $2 million, which is hard to do, right? So if Joseph Woll could be healthy, it'd be a completely different situation. But such is life, my friend.
Such is that.
Such is life. But like I said, and like you mentioned, or talked to Perry, but like one of the things I mentioned is like he says they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out. And I'm like, these guys make a ton of fucking cash. Like, I'm sorry, but like we said it last week, like you should not need a coach to help you get up for a big game.
No.
Like at the amount of money you're making, you should be up for every game.
Yeah, and that's
Holy
jeez. Oh my god.
Chip your tooth
I
there,
wanted
bud.
to no, and that's kind of one of the things when I was training and that I like to preach is, like if we have to get you up to play a hockey game, then maybe rethink your sport. Like, yes, coaches, like to a certain extent, we got to make sure that we're cheerleaders a little bit too. But for the most part, that comes within the leadership group and like the players themselves, right? Like, and they have to have enough kind of will to want to, have a little bit of fire.
Yeah, that's part of the game. Like it's just, I don't know. Like, and look, we're both out of shape, out of the game. Not out of the game. We're still very much involved in the game, but like we're not playing the game, right? Like we talked to Perry, who was like, yeah, he could probably still lace them up and skate with the young kids, right? That are playing. Like we obviously can't do that, and like you're a much better hockey player than I ever was, but like you probably. When was the last time you put a pair of skates on other than for work? When was the last time you played in a beer league game?
Oh, 8 years ago.
That soon? I thought it was more than that.
What year are we now? 2024?
2024.
I think I stopped in like 2015 or something like that. Yeah, 2016.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
I played a few years when I came back, and then Sid.
What's that?
I played a few years when I came back to Cap.
Oh yeah,
that was it. Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I've ever seen you play. And everybody that I talked to, other than the guys that you played with when you were young,
I'm like the unicorn.
Yeah. We don't really know.
People
if
think
it exists.
no.
Yeah, we don't really know if he exists.
People think I'm good at hockey, but they don't know because they haven't seen me.
That's right. So, anyways, going back to the Leafs and wrapping that up, but obviously a ton of speculation that's going to happen over the next few weeks, and I always find it super fucking intriguing, like the number of rumors and all that come out. And look, there's a bunch of other stuff obviously in the NHL that we could talk about, but like, we love the Leafs, so it makes it a lot easier, and we're tuned into the Leafs. But yeah, it'll be an interesting summer, and I have a feeling this year, because of the salary cap going up, like never mind the Leafs, I think there's going to be a ton of movement from a ton of teams. Like I think there's just going to be a bunch of trades, bunch of signing. See, there's my inability to speak again.
You're all right.
Bunch of signings. We were trying to do our ads earlier for our sponsor Golf Elite tonight.
Yeah.
And I don't even know. Like I just couldn't speak, and then Shelly's like, "Just fucking do it right. Just stop being so professional and just read it."
How come your imitation of me sounds like you? No, your imitation of me sounds like me imitating you.
Only on the Coast to Coast podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Can we talk about Potts' style right now? If you're on YouTube, you can see it, but if you're on Apple Music, anyways.
What's wrong with my style?
He's got like a light blue and like lime green Blue Jays hat with an Oilers orange jersey.
Yeah, courtesy of Player X. Shout out to them.
Yep.
Is there? It's just because it's like a little bit all over the place, very flashy.
Yeah.
Well,
judging on your golf bag too, you're a pretty flashy guy.
It's just my personality, but I just have a flashy personality. What can I say?
That's not all you have.
Speaking of flashing, we didn't talk about this last week. Go ahead.
No, go.
Speaking of flashing, did you see The Oilers girl.
Yeah.
Oh man, if you haven't seen it, unfortunately we can't play it on our pod. Although we're an explicit podcast, they have now censored out every quality video of the, and I'll call it quality when I say like you just don't see the boobs. And we talked about, I'm gonna say it right. We talked about Natalie Janvro last week from Dallas, but man, they've got another chick in Edmonton now, and I'd say the boobs are just as fake as the girl in Dallas.
Confirmed.
Oh, you confirmed it?
No. The guys on Spit and Chicklets had her.
Her
on their pod. Yeah.
Nice. I didn't catch the last episode.
You go online and you can see it, and then they just shoot the shit with her, and and they said, "Well, you're gonna have to go to the next game because."
I'm sure she will be there.
Then she's like, "Well, make it happen."
So I'm sure she will be there.
Yeah,
but I also read an article.
Poor girl. Poor girl.
Yeah, poor her. She looks poor too. But anyways, I also read an article that she was offered a porn deal or something like that from one of these online porn sites.
Oh,
that after flashing. So, anyways, apparently, if you want to get famous in Edmonton, go to a hockey game, and if they win, take your jersey off.
Yeah, you get famous for the wrong reasons if you did that, Putz.
Definitely, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
You get thrown out.
I'd probably get thrown in the drunk tank. Even if I wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
Probably that's exactly what would happen.
I think everybody listening right now is like having a huge visual of Putz taking his shirt off and like...
Well, those that know me. Those who don't know me, they might think I'm ripped. Oh man! All right, let's. We're gonna take a break here on the Coast to Coast podcast. Coming up next, we have special guest Brandon Perry coming up on the pod. So we have a really good interview with him.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a great interview.
Yeah.
Talking about his playing days, talking about what brought him to coaching. Anyways, we won't get into it. It's coming up next. Let's break for our sponsor, and then Brandon Perry on the other side. Golfly. Okay, take 4. Experience and knowledge with turnkey solutions. Golfly brings a wealth of knowledge and experience working with small and medium-sized golf courses. From the back shop to the board of directors, turf management, digital marketing, and finances. Golfly has a wide knowledge of understanding in golf operations. Does this sound like something that your golf course needs? Get started today. Golfly is offering National Golf Course Owners Association and Northern Golf Association members an exclusive 6-month free website subscription. Visit golfly.ca for more details and take your game to the next level. So this week's guest on the Coast to Coast podcast, we're very excited for this one, as you can see in our center screen. He played 3 full seasons for the Kingston Voyagers of the OPJHL, played 4 years at Queen's University U Sports, drafted to the OHL, is now the current head coach and general manager of the Timmins Rock of the NOJHL. What an impressive resume you've really put together. Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brandon Perry.
Woo!
Thanks, boys.
How are you, man?
I'm doing really good. How are you guys doing?
We're hanging in there. We had a rough weekend. We talked about it earlier in the podcast. We had our annual Flyers 3-person challenge this weekend, golf tournament, and it was a go. It was a go.
It was a
How did it go for you guys?
It was a go. Yeah.
It didn't go very well, to be honest.
No.
But hey, we're not going to the PGA tomorrow.
No. We really struggled on Saturday, and we were able to bounce back a little bit on Sunday, which was weird because the weather was really garbage on Sunday. But we found a way to muster up some fucking birdies there, so we figured it out on Sunday.
So I like to hear, boys.
Yes, sir. Look, let's get right into it, Brandon. First question, obviously, for me is, I talked about it in the introduction. Your impressive playing career, drafted by the Sarnia Sting in the Ontario Hockey League, playing, several years in Kingston, ending up in U Sports, and then finishing your playing career with the Huntsville Havoc of the SPHL. Take us a little bit through your experience, dating back to, the early 2000s when you were a part of Timmins Minor Hockey, growing up and really kind of becoming the player that you became.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say impressive playing career, but yeah, I obviously played my minor hockey here in Timmins, and was fortunate enough to win a championship in the Bantam AAA League, which was obviously, as you guys know, with minor hockey in the north, especially in the smaller communities up here with us and you guys, and obviously wasn't an easy thing to do. And then I was even more fortunate to be captain of the Timmins Majors as a minor midget the next year. And probably around Christmas time, I made the jump to junior A, not really knowing what to expect. And I think looking back on it, obviously, I mean, not a regret, but just knowing what I know now in hockey, maybe there probably shouldn't have been such a rush to get to where I was going. I mean, having a fantastic year with the majors, and probably like when the initial OHL draft rankings came out, I think most of it was between second and fifth round for myself, and made the jump to junior A hockey and kind of fell to the ninth round, which um, maybe in hindsight, maybe it's exactly where I was supposed to go, or but I think that jump, just you go from being on the ice all the time and in midget, and then you make the jump to junior A as a 15-year-old, and you end up playing 8, 9 minutes a night, and it's hard for those guys to see you play and see what you can do when you're sitting on the bench. So I think looking back on it, I think um, maybe that decision was maybe not the best one for me, but it obviously had a ton of benefits too, just playing against a lot older guys and stronger guys and practicing against stronger guys and older guys and practicing more. Obviously in U18 there was 2 practices a week, and you jump to junior A and you're on the ice every day, and which certainly helped my development. But just in terms of kind of exposure, I think staying in U18 probably would have been best for me, just knowing what I know now. Um, and then I played 4 years in Kingston with the Voyageurs, and then had some tough injuries. And when I was 18, didn't really know if hockey was going to be in the cards for me and moving forward much longer, and decided to make the jump to Queen's University and get the education, not knowing what to expect really. And obviously U Sports is what it is now, but back then it wasn't. It was kind of an unknown. Um, and to be honest with you, I didn't take it really seriously at the start. And you find out really quick, especially like you see guys making the jump to the U Sports now, where they're 20, 21 years old, coming out of major junior, 70, 80 point guys in major junior. And I made the jump at 18, again, which probably a little premature, a little early. Um, and it was a big eye opener, man. I mean, there were some really, really good players, and I had to get up to speed really quick there. But I enjoyed my time at Queens, probably some of my best years playing hockey. Just a great environment to study and play, and um, I loved it. Obviously, being in Kingston again, staying in Kingston, ended up being there for I think a total of 9 years. Became my second home, so absolutely loved my time in Kingston. And again, looking back on it in hindsight, I mean, I was captain of my junior A team at the time when I made the jump at 18, and the V's ended up going to the Royal Bank Cup back then, which is what it was called. And it wasn't the format it is now. They ended up winning the OJHL, and then they
Yeah,
won
you
the
had to
Dudley
work. You had
Hewitt.
to work your way up. Like when I played in Thunder Bay, same thing. Like you got to win the what was it called, Dudley Hewitt, and then
Yeah,
you're making it to nationals. Yeah, a
who's
little bit of a
actually hosted out there that year?
was it? Yeah,
Scriber
okay,
hosted it.
okay,
Scriber hosted it. Yeah.
okay.
They ended up going there, and so obviously there I am at Queens, thinking, oh man, like what did I do now? Like made this decision again, and then jumped a little too early. And um, but as you guys know, you play for an organization long enough, and you play for the same coach long enough. I mean, I had a great relationship with my coach in junior A, absolutely, but he was a hard coach, and after 4 years, I think I had a couple surgeries, and then things just weren't going the way you kind of envisioned it at 14, 15 years old, and um, thought maybe it was time to go to school, and was lucky enough to end up playing hockey there as well, and kind of worked out for me. And after that, not really knowing what to do after graduating, and got an opportunity to play down in Huntsville and in Alabama, and it was an unbelievable experience. And the head coach there was actually from Timmins. Potts, you might know the name. His name is Glenn DeTulio. He was a South End guy, and
Yep.
kind of got to connect it that way years previous. And then once I graduated, ended up going down there, and it was an unbelievable experience. Absolutely.
It's interesting too to see kind of everybody's path that they take, and like guy from our hometown, Zach Dorval, and just his experience in the O as a 16-year-old and like that, and just um, and decisions you have to make at that age. Like, yes, everybody has kind of agents now and family advisors at a young age, but still, it's a decision that you make, and it might be right for you or it might not be right for you, and then but the other guy beside you, that's what he or she should have done, right? Like, it's such a kind of guessing game as to kind of where you go play and when you go play junior or what league, whatever. Like, it's such a toss up.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that, and I think like we can dive into this later as well. Just the OHL draft in general. I think that day is the most overhyped, overhyped day, and so much pressure on a 15-year-old kid. But I think when I made the jump from midget to junior A, in my minor midget year, um, I didn't make that decision.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It
Yeah.
wasn't my decision. I didn't know. Like alls I knew at the time was that I wanted to play hockey at the highest level I possibly could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's all I knew at 15 years old. And then obviously had an agent and had a dad that was telling me to do one thing, and just kind of listened. And um, looking back on it now, I mean, I kind of wish I made more decisions for myself back then, obviously at a young age, but
It's
um,
tough.
You
It's tough,
mentioned you had an agent, Brandon. Like, is that a decision that was based out of just your agent, or was that like your parents made that decision ultimately for you? And I know you said it wasn't your decision, but is that a decision that your agent might have made for you, or was it a family decision?
uh, probably family, I would say. Well, the
Okay.
most pressure was from my dad, I would say. And it's not that it wasn't my decision, but it's just like maybe I was trying to please other people. Maybe back then, um, the agent just gives you the opportunities, right? They're
Yeah.
like, here, you can go here, here. We had a tournament in Waterloo, the Waterloo Gold Puck, which you guys probably been to
Yep.
a million times, and had a great tournament. And my agent after the tournament was like, you can go play here, you can go play here, you can play here. There was probably 5 teams, some in the Goj, some in the OJ. I think it was called the OPJHL back then. And um, my dad had connections in Kingston. He had some family there, and they thought it was the best fit. And it's just at the time, it's like it doesn't even cross your mind. You're like, why am I making the jump? You know what I mean? Like, why? You're just like you're excited for one. Obviously, it's nice to be wanted, and um, it's nice when others recognize your skill, or not so much the skill, just the time you put in and the work you put in. That's obviously nice and comforting, but um, I just think at 15, I didn't have the mental capacity to step back and be like, okay, like, how does this decision affect me 2 years down the road? And I felt like there was people in my life at the time, as we just mentioned, that should have had more foresight than just to be like, well, you're playing junior hockey at 15 years old.
Mhm.
Like that's a
Yeah.
that's a great accomplishment. You know what I mean? It's
Huge. Like,
maybe
it's just something you
maybe it
don't
is.
see. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it is like, well, is it best for your development? Like, and that's obviously when I mentioned earlier, it's like knowing what I know now, um, I didn't think it was, but obviously there's no regrets. I enjoyed my time,
Mhm.
and it was awesome.
Um, which takes us to the second part of your hockey career, I guess, and the whole coaching aspect of it, and I can go on and on about the beast that has become of the Timmins Rock junior team over the last decade or half decade or whatever it's been. But I mean, what before we get into that, what led you to coaching? I know you mentioned. I mean, obviously, you mentioned a lot of great. You were captain of your U18 club at 15 years old. You were captain of a junior team at 18 years old. I mean, it's obvious. Your leadership abilities are.
Were you captain at Queens as well?
Yeah, I was co-captain at Queens.
Yeah, like I mean, that's unbelievable, right? Like to have that kind of leadership ability, and obviously you need that in a coach. Is your just natural leadership ability what led you to coaching, or like what brought you to the game of coaching, or what brought you
It's
to?
the flow putts, I think.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, he just has the right flow to be a hockey coach.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
has he definitely has that look of confusion at times, which I'm sure
Oh yeah.
we were looking for some pictures to put on our Facebook and our socials about the interview, and when we were talking to Perry, he was like, I don't know, every fucking picture of me just looks fucking super confused or lost.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
terrified.
what's going on out here?
Yeah.
Um, I
But yeah,
think
what brought you to coaching?
I think it's the same as you guys. I mean, I just love the game of hockey. You know what I mean? I think maybe at the start I wasn't really sure kind of what I was getting into. I ended up coaching the midget A team here in town. Um, and I think it was mostly just like you're done playing and you're not really sure what your identity is anymore. You know what I mean? It's something
Right.
you do every single day, your whole life. Summers, just everything was just always hockey with me, just always, always, always. So then when it's gone or done, it's just like what most players struggle with when they retire, or guys that are forced to retire, or they don't have jobs anymore, whatever the case is. It's just like there's this sense of like you're just lost. You're like, what? You know what I mean? I don't know a life without the game of hockey. You know what I mean? So I think there were some hard times, obviously, mentally, just not having the game. So I think at the start, like as bad as this sounds, maybe it's for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Maybe it was just for like my own personal feeling of like needing the game in my life again. But then obviously once I got into it and um, just absolutely loved it, and I think you guys know you're both coaches. I mean, it's just so rewarding in a different sense from playing that when you teach somebody something and they like really get it, you know what I mean? And you can see the success, whether it be from an individual standpoint or whether it be from a team standpoint. You see the success, and it's just like it's almost addicting in terms
It
of
is.
like you're like, yeah, this is
It is.
awesome.
It's like creating a
Working,
system, like having your team play the way like you believe they should play and stuff like that. And we'll like I got a question for you about that a little bit later, but it's just like you said. It's like not a rush, but it's that kind of rush that you get, but not playing the game, but actually like find a different avenue when you're all
yeah,
washed up and about 50 pounds too
exactly.
heavy and
Oh, Perry still looks pretty fit though.
I know he does.
He looks like he could
It's
still.
true.
He looks like he can still skate with the boys.
Oh yeah.
That's that's roofing season, boys. That's when they're grinding.
There you
Um,
go.
but the way I describe it too is like that rush you talk about. I think like for myself, anyways, it's like it's almost like gambling. That rush you get, like
Yeah.
sitting at a blackjack table, whatever you're doing. Um, you have this plan in your head, you have this vision in your head, and then it's like, is it going to work?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then once the game starts, you have no control.
No.
Like you
Yeah.
you can from a bench management standpoint, you do, um, and you can influence the game obviously as a coach. I believe that, but like, got, especially young teenagers, especially at the U18 level, like these kids, like you don't know what they're going to do.
No.
Like, are they gonna go on their own page? Are they gonna follow the system and like half do, half don't? So I always get this like feeling of like nervousness or like yeah, it's just like it's almost like gambling. It's like, is this gonna work? Is it gonna work? Like you're hoping it's gonna work, and it's like you can prepare all as much as you want and like practice, have 5, 6 great practices in a row, be like, man, we get it. Like we finally get it. Like it's gonna look great. And then once that puck drops, it's like,
Yeah.
do we really? You know what I mean? And
It's
I think
almost
I've
like
been
it's almost yeah. It is addicting. It is. It's kind of like I don't know that like you just. I mean, I was obviously involved, not always in coaching, but I mean, doing management and other things. Sometimes as assistant coach, like when I coach with Shelly and with Glenn here in Cap, and then this year didn't coach, the Flyers, but got involved with Team NOHA. And I know the two of you, I think, have been involved with Team NOHA in the past together as well, which is a great experience. We can talk about that. But like, it's any way you can help out the team, even as a coach, you want to do it, right? And I know I remember going down to the OHL Cup, being a little bit. Like, a little starstruck, and I can only imagine the players. But like, you just get down there, and all you see is a bunch of black jackets in the crowd, and you're like a little nervous for your first game too, because you're like, holy fuck, this is like, this is a little bit bigger than playing on a Thursday night up in Cap, right? Like, and any way you can help the boys out, you can. But I want to take you guys back a little bit to kind of a question for the two of you guys, but share your experience with, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know for sure you guys did OHL Cup with Team NOHA, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it Rimouski?
That was Chicoutimi, but
Or
Brandon
Chicoutimi.
couldn't come.
Oh shit! Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
it just ended up meeting me and Jamie Henderson.
Oh, Jamie
but
Anderson.
he was supposed to be there. We were always looking forward to it,
Yeah.
yeah.
a room with pairs. But hey,
But
shit
just,
happens.
I mean, just that process of getting ready for again such a tournament that's like I know for us this year with Team NOHA was you really kind of go above and beyond and make sure you're selecting the right players. And I know it was a little bit different because it was a U18 tournament, but definitely something to really be proud of as a coach as well to get involved with a team of that.
And that was something our league should kind of bring back. And but the cool experience was kind of getting 3 kind of head coaches together and kind of putting our heads together and like, okay, how do we want to play? How are we going to take a team that you put together overnight and like how are you going to compete? And we did well. We did. We lost in the semis.
Lost in the semis.
Yeah, it's Lac Saint Louis, and we were winning 2-0 too, and then they tied it up.
Lost in overtime.
Lost in overtime.
You guys did great, man. Like you guys played so well.
The kids, they just gelled right off the bat, and it was really cool. And it was good. It was awesome.
I agree with you, man. That should come back. And to your question, Potts, is I did that CCM challenge with Shelly and Hendo, and my wife was pregnant, and there were some complications. But I was actually coach at OHL Cup one year, the year COVID ended at L. So I went through the process of it, selecting the team, and obviously COVID shut it down. And that year we were up in Cap for the play down tournament. I was supposed to do it that year.
Okay. But, yeah. I knew you were involved at one point, but I didn't know when it was or. So you hadn't. I mean, obviously as a player, or was there even an OHL Cup when you were a player?
Well, I left.
Okay.
I left at Christmas, right? My U18.
Of course. So because you played junior, there was no OHL Cup for you,
right? Yeah.
Obviously. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it existed back then. Not sure how long the tournament's been around for. So
we got to do our homework.
Yeah, I didn't. We needed Stats Guy Zach on that one.
Stats Guy Zach's got to be on it.
But we'll get him on that and find out exactly how long the OHL Cup has been around for. Perry, talk to us a little bit about, as I mentioned earlier, the animal of the NOJHL that has become the Timmins Rock. I mean, obviously, you guys won the league championship last season.
Should have won of this one too.
Probably should have, at least been in the final this year, eh? But
just the way they played. Anyways, yeah. we'll get into that, Perry.
But I mean, just talk to us a little bit about the organization. What you guys, I mean, I know that when it came back to Timmins from Iroquois Falls, it's been how many years now? Probably 10 years.
Yeah, I think 11. I think
11
11. Yeah.
years, right? So it came back 11 years ago. I know Paul Gagne was a huge component of that. Steve Sullivan was a big component of that. And then there's been, obviously massive progressions since then. And now you're at the helm of it all as the head coach and the GM. But talk to us about the team, about the program, how the city has supported it. Because I mean, it's pretty evident that you guys have the largest fan base in the north of all the teams. But how just give us a little glimpse on who the Timmins Rock are and how they become so big.
Yeah, I think obviously the success like started when Corey took over here and um, built some really good teams, and COVID maybe robbed them of one or two championships. They had a really young team the one year. The year I started helping out, just working with the centerman and some skill stuff. Um, was on the bench for a few games, but obviously was with the U18 team here, and that's where my priority lied. But they had a really good team, and they were up 3-1 against Hearst in the conference final, and ended up losing in seven. And Hearst had a really deep older team, and um, they ended up winning the league that year. So that was just start of the success, and it was something that was built with young players. And I think Seguin was 18 at the time in that year, and then the next year um, they start rolling, obviously, and um, game one of playoffs happens. They had a great first game, and then obviously COVID shut it down. And then the following year, they had all those guys were now 20 years old. Um, they had a really great team, really great group. Um, so COVID might have robbed them of two, but you just never know, obviously. And then obviously when I took over, there was a bit of unknown, right? Like, are guys going to want to come back and play for me? How am I going to continue the success? Um, and we had a great first year, like really great. And I think the learning point for me as a young coach that first year was that, like, something I kind of say now a lot is like, it's never as good as it seems and it's never as bad as it seems. And I think that first year, like, we come out of the gates hot, we go like 21-1 to start the season. We're number two ranked team in Canada, and like all these things are happening. And you're just like, oh my God. And it's like, it shouldn't be that easy. You know what I mean? But we had a great group of players. And I just think the passion and like the stuff I brought to that team, I think really helped. And we ended up losing to seven in Hearst. Dropped 3 or 4 games on home ice, which was really tough. Kind of similar to this year. Had a really good team. I thought if we just got through that series, that I thought we were good enough to beat the Sioux in the final. And obviously Hearst had a tremendous series against them too, losing in game seven in overtime, and that was a great series. And then the next year, it's like, okay, how do we keep this thing going? I mean, those older players are gone. How do we replace them? We ended up having a really good summer of recruiting, getting the right guys in, right character guys in. Obviously, we came out of the gates stumbling a little bit, and I think that early adversity was the difference as the year before. I thought that struggle we went through at the beginning of that season um, really paced us for the rest of the season. And then obviously once we took off, once we got going, we were really hard to stop and ended up winning. And then obviously this year, um, again, stumbled out of the gates. And I think it was a little bit of that hangover from the previous year, the Centennial Cup year. And um, as a coach, from my perspective, I mean, there's one thing you do. Obviously, you always look in the mirror first. It's like, okay, the team's not doing good. What am I doing? Is there something I can do better? And I thought, from my perspective, I thought maybe not that I wasn't putting in the time and effort. I just thought maybe I was expecting our guys to get it quicker because of my last year's team. And
Mm.
you have those returning guys that have been through it and seen it all. And we're under the leadership of Nick Pigeon and all these guys that, whereas a coach, there's nothing better than when your players are teaching the system to younger guys.
Yeah.
Um, and I
And
thought that,
sometimes you got to change. You got to modify based on the players you have too. Like the system's got to change, and like if they sometimes they just don't get it. And it's not their fault. It's you having to build that system that can make them successful, right?
exactly. So I thought that happened this year. I thought maybe I was expecting them to get it as opposed to just teaching.
Yeah.
doing my
Right.
job basically. Not that I wasn't, it's just I could have dedicated a lot more time and effort, especially the younger players coming in, spending more one-on-one video time and stuff like that. And once I started doing that, the results started coming, and we went on a couple good runs this year. And um, what I've learned is that, as you guys know in hockey, the better team doesn't always win.
Yeah. Well, I saw that
And
this year.
yeah, well,
But
the two
like,
seasons, the two seasons we had two really great teams, two different teams, but two really great teams. Like there's so much that goes into winning.
yeah,
There's a bit of luck. You need the bounces. You need to get a call at the right time. The momentum shifts. Like just there's so many things that need to happen to win. I thought this year you just look at the bounces we got in that conference final, like
yeah,
against us.
yeah.
It's just
Well,
like, man,
yeah,
that game won at home for 57 minutes. Like we could not have played better hockey.
no.
Could not have played.
And then
No.
just forgot how to hockey for 3 minutes of that game. Yeah,
Yeah, and just
it's just
guys get
yeah,
guys
he's
get tight, think it's over, and it happened.
yeah,
I mean, it's these things in hockey. So
yeah,
you lose all four games on home ice,
yeah,
and you blow two
Yeah,
lead in
what are the
all
odds
every
of that?
game.
Yeah.
You blow two goal lead in every game. It's like you don't deserve to win when that happens. That being said, I thought we were the better team for 6 of the 7 games, and maybe should have went our way. But to answer your question, like the reason the Rock, well, like the teams I've been a part of the last 3 years, the reason why we have the success we do is because the resources we allocate all the resources to on ice, and obviously we have a lot of resources just because of our fan base, as you mentioned. And from the top of the organization down, like the way they do things, the way they do their game day operations, everything they do, like they're just implementing stuff, like these interviews between periods. Like we got the game strat going now with the iPads on the bench, and it's just the organization gives us every single resource here to be successful as a team. So obviously we got to utilize these resources. And for me, it's ice time. That's that's the number one thing I need. And it's we got to be on the ice every single day.
yeah,
And then we're on the ice twice a day, a lot of days throughout the week, just because we have position specific skill sessions. We got our forwards out there during the week, once, twice a week. We got our D out there once, twice a week. Our goalies are on Tuesday, Thursday mornings at 7 a.m. And as you know, the goalies use one end of the ice. So you tell a player that loves hockey, hey man, there's 3/4 of a sheet tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. You want to get out there and get better,
yeah,
and a lot of our guys utilize that. And you find out quick the guys that the guys that actually are here doing the things they say they want to do, right? Because every recruiting call you have in the summer, kids say the right things. It's one of the hardest things to recruit is character, because
yeah,
majority of your conversations you have, the guys answer the questions correctly. And you find out really quick come fall or early in the season when we have these ice slots. Okay, so like your forward skill sessions are mandatory. You got to be there, get on the ice. And most guys like get out there, give a good effort. But you give a kid an option in the morning. You have a 3 game road trip out west. Monday's practice is an option. Who's out there? The year before we would have 18, 19 guys out.
hmm
This year we have 5.
right,
You know what I mean? So there's a
Yeah.
big difference. So I think the success we have is because we work extremely hard, and everybody says they work hard, and I'm sure most programs do. Um, but we really do here. Like I can't speak for anybody else, but we do. It's on the ice, man. If we could skate 15 times in a week, man, I'm there.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
You know
you
what I
see
mean?
it, and that kind of leads like, um, from the 2 games I watched in playoffs, and just kind of from working with you, like coaching and stuff in terms of systems, and I really liked the way Timmins' game was played, and it's kind of had the same values as I would want as a coach, and like it's basically 2 things: it's work ethic and like adhesion to the system. So how do you go about kind of building that culture and building that wanna kind of eat hearts, and and not actually believing in a system?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest assets as a coach is my relationships with my players. And I'm a firm believer in like everybody can teach a system. Maybe not everybody, but like there's so many resources out there and access to video and tools where you could bring up NHL clips. You have these drill draw apps, you have everything, you know what I mean? You have everything to show a player this is what we're gonna do. You know what I mean? This is the drill we're gonna run. This is what we're trying to accomplish, whatever it is. My guys, I get them to actually like believe like every drill, everything we're doing here, and the practices are structured this way. Everything we're doing here has a purpose. You know, we don't do anything just to do it.
Right.
It has a purpose, and I've been really good at communicating to my players and getting them to believe that. Like, this is why we're doing it. This is what we're trying to accomplish, and let's get it. And I think that's how I get my guys to buy into the system. And then on the flip side of that, I'm just an extremely passionate guy. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I believe what I'm saying. Um, you know, and I'm honest with my guys, and I really care about it. And this isn't just a program to me. You know what I mean? Like I could have applied to coach to any junior A hockey team. You know what I mean? But it's my hometown. It's a lot more than just a hockey team to me.
Yeah.
You know, you could coach anywhere. Like it's just, this means something more to me than whether if I could coach in the OJ or the CCHL or wherever it is. It means a lot more to me than just another job. You know what I mean? And it's not that I'm not driven or I'm not motivated to move on in coaching. My aspirations of coaching is to coach this team and nothing further. You know what I mean? I think about this team all the time. I think about Timmins hockey all the time. It's what motivates me, it's what drives me. And I think my players feel that passion. And I think that's why I've had a ton of success at getting my guys to buy in and believe. And on the flip side of that, we play in a really fun system. If you want to play fast, you want to play with skill, you want to play with the puck on your stick, like you're gonna enjoy playing in our system. You know what I mean? If you want to transition super quick and keep teams on their heels, or you know what I mean? It's not always with us. We're not a team that brings it back and builds it more times. Like obviously if you have to bring it back and build it, then we'll do it. But we want to push the puck up, like a lot of quick ups, like don't let teams establish their forecheck, don't let teams get into control, don't let teams get into structure. Look, let's keep going north as much as possible, as fast as possible. So I think there's a lot of things I just mentioned, but I think like just those relationships you build with your players makes them want to play for you.
Yeah.
So they believe you when you tell them, "Hey man, this is what we're gonna do. It's gonna work." And they believe you when you say that because they trust you. And then they do it. And then on top of that, it's a fun system to play in. I mean, does it always go as planned? Obviously not. I mean, there's a lot of good teams and a lot of good coaches in the league. So you got to adjust, you got to tweak, you got to do things to adjust the teams, and sometimes you got to stray away from that system. Like as much as I want to play puck possession hockey and skilled hockey, like sometimes they don't let you do it. Like the best example is against Hearst.
Mm.
They're our toughest competition. They do a great job over there. They play a great style of game. They're super fast. They take a lot of chances. They get so many odd man rushes. So if you want to carry the puck against them and turn it over at the blue line, it's a 2-on-1 the other way. You know
Mm.
what I mean? So there's teams you do play against that takes you out of your comfort zone and takes you out of your structure. Um, and then as a coach, it's those adjustments you make in game between periods, shift to shift, whatever it is. That's how you influence the game, in my opinion. But um, yeah, that's how we do it here in Timmins. I think it's just being on the ice, man.
Yeah.
You move a kid 9 hours from home for one thing, and that's to play hockey. So let's play it as much as we
Absolutely.
can.
I agree. And one of your players who really knows nothing about systems is your goaltender, and we actually played golf with him yesterday, or at least he was your goaltender for the past couple of years, Patty Boyven, and we've had him here in Cap for a couple of years. Great kid. Obviously, you had Kyle Trotze as well. Another Kapuskasing boy, Aiden as well, his younger brother. So. just talk to us about the experience with those three kids in particular that you had, just for our local guys here in Cap.
Yeah, I think we could dive into this later or now, or whatever you guys want. But I think those are the things back when I used to coach against you guys when I was with the majors and you were with the Flyers. Those are the things that I think made me the most jealous. I would say jealous. I would use that word. Envious maybe, but it's just like those character kids,
Yeah.
you know, like Kyle Chache, like playing U18 against that guy. I was just like, I would love to coach this kid one day. Like I would just love to coach him. Hear Shelly talk about him and the kind of kid he was and the kind of character he had. Not that we didn't have guys like that, but we just didn't have enough of them with the majors. And I loved every single kid I coached in the U18 program here. And we had some tough years, obviously, but um, I just remember playing against you guys, and especially that first year, every year really. But that last year, I thought you guys were going to win it. The year COVID shut it down. You had
So did
Kyle
we.
and Maynard.
For the record, so
Yeah,
did we.
Thanks for reminding us.
You
yeah,
talk
you guys
about
had such a
you talk
you guys
about
did
the
such a
Rock getting one stolen from them, or maybe two from
yeah.
COVID. We definitely feel the same way here up in Cap.
I think so too. And like there was 3 years in a row there when I was with the U18 team that you guys could have won it every single year. Like obviously those powerhouse North Bay teams were
Yeah,
just exceptional, but
yeah.
you guys just did such a good job. So, anyways, back to Kyle. I just remember being like, man, this kid like it's insane.
Yeah.
He just plays like he just plays the game like when you're growing up, like your parents telling you like there's one way to play the game and it's hard and if you gotta block shots, you gotta block shots. If you gotta score the goal, you gotta score a goal. You know what I mean? He just seemed to do everything and
Hmm.
there's no there's no like secret or magic wand or reason why that guy's a two-time champion in junior A hockey. There's just not.
Yeah.
And he just his character is second to none. His effort, his heart, whatever buzzword you want to use. Um, he's just to this day one of the most incredible kids I've ever coached, if not the most. He's just a character team first guy that I just can't say enough about. And then you mix in a guy like Patty Boyven, who I thought we were going to get with the majors the year you guys got him. He he said, I remember talking to his parents. They were going to come skate with us Friday night. They're like, we're going to Caps camp or whatever. We'll stop in Timmins. We'll skate with you Friday night. And I already knew like we were going to sign him. Like we didn't have many options here. Then he didn't show up Friday night. And I was like, what's
I
going
may,
on? And like, oh, we
I may have
signed in
had something
Cap.
to do with that he didn't show up to your camp on Friday night.
Yeah, I thought you might have, but what uh what an incredible talent, man. Honestly, um he was just incredible for us and a big reason why we were champions. And I just there's things in life that you'll never forget, and his performance in the Centennial Cup is something I'll never forget as long as I live. And nothing makes me like more proud or like makes my heart like feel so good as that first game. You know, we come out of that first period like we knew it was going to be tough, but that first period we were like, holy fuck, like what is this? This isn't hockey. Like that team was just all over us, like just dominated us. And it's just we weren't playing good and we weren't playing our best. Like we were nervous, obviously, and it's just in that and Patty kept us in. I think he stopped 20 in the first, 0-0 hockey game going in the second. And it's like in the intermission, it's like, okay, it's done. Like nerves are gone. And they played the night before. So they had that moment, right? And they were 12-0 in their playoffs. Like they beat everybody, that Yarmouth team. Really good team, really structured. And I just remember after that first period, just telling the guys like, "Hey, like nerves are out. Like let's get back to playing hockey. Like all the video we've done on these guys the last 2 weeks is our first opponent, right? Like we had X amount of weeks off from the finals to the Centennial Cup. It's like our whole those whole weeks were focused on Yarmouth. It's like let's get in the first one. That's our opponent. Once that's over, we'll worry about who's next. But we got Yarmouth first, so like they just reverse pucks all the time, and they were just clean breakout, clean breakout, clean breakout. And I'm just like, we've watched 5,000 reverse breakouts on this team, and we can't get our F2 in there to shut it down. You know what I mean? So we just weren't playing, we weren't thinking, it was just nerves. And Patty kept us in there in that first, and we got our feet under us, and we put up 20 shots in the second and started coming. But after that game, he had an interview. And like, I'll try not to get emotional talking about it, but he just said straight up, like, just because we're from the Nodes, like, doesn't mean we're not a good hockey team. Like, we came here to win hockey games. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that interview.
And
I
I
remember
think,
seeing that on, I think it was on Twitter or something at the time. I was like, that's awesome. Good for him for even just calling it out that, you know, and you have that reputation, right? In the Noj, like, it's a little weaker than the other leagues, right? And good for Patty for just coming out there and saying it, like, hey, we're not going to just be pushovers.
yeah, and like, talk about a mature kid, and he led that tournament with a 950 save percentage. Biggest reason why we won games, biggest reason we were in games. We were in every game, obviously, except that Brooks game where he didn't play. But, um, and yeah, that's the interview that I think just sums up Patrick Boivin. And what I will say about him is that the last 2 years, he's had a 16-year-old stud goaltender behind him. First year, he had Jacob Brown, he's Flint signed him in November. I think the guy was 21-1 as a rookie with 7 shutouts, and then the 16-year-old rules in our league, Pots, is they have to play, right? So
Yep.
goalies have to play, I think 15% or 25% of the starts or whatever it ends up to be. So Patty knew that, like, and then he comes back as a 20-year-old and he's got another 16-year-old behind him. Again, really, really good goaltender. Um, Ended up, I think he was 24-4 or something, like just crazy stats. And Patty struggled a bit this year. He really did. Um, and I think those moments you find out who a kid is like the biggest cheerleader, or like he could have just, he's 20 years old. Like he could have been like, I don't got time for this kid,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but man, like every Tuesday, Thursday mornings, like he's out there, he's helping this kid any way he can, advice, experience, whatever. When that kid's in net, every save he makes, like Patty's the loudest cheerleader on the bench. And I think beyond being an incredible talent as a goaltender, um, he was a great kid and he was an unbelievable teammate. Even when he's a fiery competitor, as you guys know, like he's obviously not happy when he's on the bench
Mhm.
and this kid's playing. And there was times where Drides played 2, 3 in a row, and Patty's not happy, but he never let that distract the team. Those were conversations we had behind closed doors. But in the dressing room, on the ice, hardest worker and the biggest cheerleader on the bench. And that just sums up who Patrick Boivin is. And I think that's a testament, obviously, to his upbringing and obviously where he played his minor hockey. Not just to say that because you guys had a part in that, but just it's true, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't get to claim every success for every player you coach. There's a whole, like I get 18, 19, 20 year olds, like there's 17 years of a life that shaped them to the player they are today, and you help that along. But that's the biggest thing I can say about Patty is just an incredible kid and an incredible teammate. And then Aiden, obviously cut from the same cloth as his brother. Um, just come from a great family, man. Super polite kids, and he got trial by fire this year. I mean, we went through 11 defensemen last season, and I mean, you talk about losing in the conference final in Game 7 by 1 goal. You get Kyle Trottier in that series. Does it go 7?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We missed him. He missed 50% of our games last year.
Yeah.
And Aiden, same thing. Like because of those things, like you bring in a young kid, and whether players want to hear this or not, the young kids, like it's beneficial for them to sit in the stands sometimes and watch. It's not beneficial for them to be on the ice making mistakes over and over and over and over again. Because there comes a point in the game where the kid makes a mistake and comes back to the bench. He's not even hearing you try to make the correction. He's not
No.
even watching the iPad. He's just really down on himself. And that happened with Aiden a lot at the start of the season. And it was unfair to him because we didn't have the time to bring him in and develop him and give him the minutes to protect him from those things. We had all our ego down. It's like, Aiden, you have to play. You have to play 18 to 20 minutes, get the job done. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of hard nights on him. And then when he finally started getting it, and he's finally started coming in his own, he was playing fucking fantastic hockey, breaks his collarbone, or he broke his scapula. So, and then his season's done. You know what I mean? But you guys know these kids really well. And that's the best thing I can say about them is they're quality people.
Yeah. And, you mentioned just like, with the thing with Patty, just to kind of finish up on that, but Patty, being a 20-year-old, having a 16-year-old and as his backup, he could have said, yeah, fuck it. Fuck you. I'm not, I'm not doing this today, but it's just not in his DNA. Like, we had Patty as a 15-year-old, not on our team. He was an AP with us. And the kid was like super humble at 15 years old. Like he come into a situation that, like, good on him for doing what he did. But I don't know if you know the story here, but we had one goaltender down with an injury. This is game 1 of the playoffs in Cap against Sudbury, second round. So we had one goalie go down with an injury. The other goalie had been dealt a team suspension for breaking a team rule. And game 1 of the playoffs, and you've been to the Sports Palace in Cap. I mean, obviously it's not like the Mac in Timmins now with the Rock, but the Sports Palace in Cap on a Saturday night in the playoffs, you can have, I think we had 800 or 900 people there. And here's this 15-year-old kid comes into a completely new situation, not knowing anybody in the room. And he got the start that night. We ended up losing the game 3-2 in overtime, but he put on like a wicked performance. Like he was unbelievable. He stopped a 2-on-0 at one point. I still remember it today. Like this is a 15-year-old kid, and you knew he was special from that point on, and just super humble. And I remember having a conversation with his parents after the game. They were just super thankful for the opportunity they had been given. And it's just quality people. The Trottiers are the same thing. I actually spoke to Brian earlier this week, or late last week, I guess it would have been now, a few days ago. But yeah, he just super good people, and you can't ask for better. And you definitely got some really good years with them. And I think Aiden's going back to you next year. Is that been confirmed yet? He is going back. That's awesome. Glad to hear that. So. Cool. Look, man, I got, honestly, we kind of got to wrap it up. Just, we got a ton of content here, and this has been a ton of fun, and thank you for everything that you've given us. I do have one final question, though, and it's completely separate from what, we've talked about, but.
Oh, I got something for him.
Oh,
but before you ask your question,
I
got to show you something there, Perry.
Oh, yeah, he pulled this up earlier. I was like,
yeah. Let's see if.
Perry's going to like these.
Okay, so let's get these little pictures up here. Can you see those, buddy?
Oh my god!
Hey, let's. So this is a Queens Golden Gales website, and we got
our podcast isn't just seriousness, there, Perry. We have some fun on here. And this is,
let's go through the flow. Let's go through the flow of every year of Brandon Perry here. So, but like you didn't change hairstyles for 4 years. That's pretty good, though.
No, I think that's just out of laziness, boys.
No. I'll go ahead.
Grow it as long as you can, cut it off. Grow it as long as you can, cut it off. But well, that's a blast from the past, there, boys.
He'd get one haircut a year, as one before he left for the season. There, his parents would make sure he'd have a decent haircut, and then that was it. After that,
honestly, that was it. And even now. Get my haircut. My wife was booking a hair appointment the other day, and she messaged me. She's like, "You need a haircut? Do I want to book you in?" I was like, "Sure." Otherwise, I would just forget about it.
Let it grow.
It just got out of control.
Let the flow, man.
Let it flow. Let it flow. Perry, last question. Oilers and Panthers are currently playing. Obviously, we all know how game 1. We're recording this episode on Monday, so it'll be released on Tuesday. But give us your prediction, Oilers, Panthers. Who's got the series? Who's got the cup this year?
That's such a hard one. I mean, I don't even know, to be honest with you. Like there's so much high-end firepower on Edmonton. But like I just love the way Florida plays the game. I just love how nasty they are. They're unapologetic about it. and they could actually play, man. Like just all four lines. Like I just love how hard they compete. I'm gonna say Florida, even though it's super hard to bet against McDavid and Draisaitl and those guys they have up in their lineup there. I just really like the way Florida plays, and I think Bobrovsky's going to be the difference. And
Well, he certainly was on Saturday night, anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
what were the shots? Was 32-15 or something like that?
Yeah,
And they ended up-
Oilers had a bunch of missed opportunities, but
Yeah.
for the most
Yep.
part, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's, my heart says Edmonton, my mind says Florida's gonna take it. Unfortunately,
yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I think it'd be nice it's just it's so hard because you're always like, oh, it would be so nice to see McDavid lift the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say that about 20 guys on Florida. You can say that about
Yeah.
20 guys in Edmonton.
that's true. Yeah,
And to be honest with you boys, if it's not the Leafs, like I don't care.
okay.
So earlier we did talk about the Leafs, and now I'm gonna throw it in another question. Now that you brought them up,
Oh, God.
we're
We're here for another hour now,
No,
Perry.
no, no,
I guess.
no. Last question. Last question. We got to wrap it up here. But what is
Yeah.
what do you see happening with the Mitch Marner situation?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I would give him his last year. Um, I think after that, you'll know just because he's going to play for two polar opposite coaches, and he's going to get a hard ass guy in Berube in there now. If he can't bring it out of him, then, and not bring it out of him. I mean, the guy's unbelievable, and
Yeah.
it's just he hasn't gotten the results in playoffs. And I mean, that's unfortunately what everybody measures it from. And I think if Berube can't bring it out of him in playoffs, I think he's got to go. And that's probably not a situation that is going to be allowed to happen because the values the value is what it is, and if you don't move him now and get pieces for him, he's restricted, right?
No, he'll be unrestricted after this season.
After this season, yeah.
So he
So
can
then
literally
that's-
he can walk away for nothing if they don't move him in the offseason this year.
So there you go. I think that obviously those situations play a big factor, but I would let him play out the year. I would just see what he gets. I think I just would. I don't know. There's something there. I think he's gonna figure it out, but I think there's a lot of pieces the Leafs need, and if they're gonna get some pieces, then he's got to be a big part in bringing those pieces in. He's got to go the other way. So
He's getting paid a lot of money to figure it out. That's for sure. Right. So hopefully he does, and hopefully the Leafs figure it out because they need a fucking playoff series win and multiple. Actually, not just one because they did one last year and it still wasn't enough. They need multiple series wins. So Perry,
What's
thank you
your
very
feeling
much. What's that? Sorry, go ahead, bud.
I was gonna say, what's your feeling on that though? I mean, is the season not a success? Like you play against a really good Boston team, you lose by a goal in Game 7. I mean,
I think it's
is it
just because
just-
they're expected to win, right? Like like and people like
so was everybody
they're under a
else.
microscope, and it is a success. They had a hell of a season. It's just
And
But like
and-
Vegas was expected to win.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, there's only one
Dallas
cup.
was expected.
There's only one.
All
cup,
these
right?
teams,
Yeah, yeah.
like they're all so good, man. Like it's just
There's a lot of parity in the league, as we like to say now. But the one thing for me with the Leafs is, at some point, you have to kind of break through. And after it's just been, they always talk about Yzerman, not winning a cup till it was like year, I think 12 or 14 or something like that. And then Ovi, same thing. But the difference for me between those guys and the Leafs and the Matthews era is that those guys won rounds. Like they lost in conference finals, they lost in cup finals. Like the Leafs can't and you know what, you mentioned Boston. Like they were a good team. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bringing the Bruins down by any stretch, but we said it last week on the pod. Like they were not the Bruins of the Zdeno Chara era, right? They were a very beatable Bruins team.
I
And
agree with that.
Yeah, they lost in 7 games, but we got to remember they were down 3-1 at one point, and that's where the series was lost. Is when they lost those games 3, 4, and 5, right? So
Yeah, I think to your point too with those other teams too, like there was turnover on the roster.
Yeah.
Big pieces going out, coming in, and the Leafs
Yeah.
haven't done it. They've just been sticking with the same thing. So I think that would be my biggest like critique on their rosters. Like
Yeah.
you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And I think the sample size is big enough now that it's like, okay, are we going to change this, or are we going to live and die by it? And see what happens.
We will. This has been a lot of fun, Perry. Thank you very much, man. We'll definitely get you on.
Let's go.
We got to get that sound out of Timmins Rock game. Maybe we'll go do a pod at. Well, no, actually, I won't be. Maybe I'll go do a pod at the Timmins Rock game, one of the games. Even if I'm a part of your rivalries organization with the Lumberjacks, doesn't mean that I still can't go do a podcast in Timmins. I know Johnny at Full Beard, which is our official beer of the podcast, Full Beard Brewing Company. He wants us to head up to Timmins before Shelley heads to Iceland and record a pod up in his brewery. So maybe we'll get you on the pod back when we're up in Timmins there.
That would be awesome, fellas. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Cool, buddy.
Best
Take
of
care.
luck.
Have a great night, boys.
Thank you. You too. Golfly. Okay. Take 4. Experience and knowledge with turnkey solutions. Golfly brings a wealth of knowledge and experience working with small and medium-sized golf courses. From the back shop to the board of directors, turf management, digital marketing, and finances. Golfly has a wide knowledge of understanding in golf operations. Does this sound like something that your golf course needs? Get started today. Golfly is offering National Golf Course Owners Association and Northern Golf Association members an exclusive 6-month free website subscription. Visit golfly.ca for more details and take your game to the next level. All right, so welcome back to our final segment of this week's episode of the Coast to Coast podcast. Great interview with Brandon Perry there, as we mentioned. A real fine gentleman, and we were just exchanging a few text messages with him after the interview. He's a gem, absolutely, and I know I've known Brandon for a long time. I used to play against him. He's a couple of years younger than me, I think, but I used to play against him in minor hockey, and I remember him and I think he was a good buddy of his, and I should have asked him in the interview, but Mark Caddick, who also played in the NHL, they were unbelievable hockey players growing up. So great interview for Mr. Perry up in Timmins, and he's doing a fantastic job with, as we said, with the Timmins Rock as the coach and GM.
No, it's yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
go.
Can I say something? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike's all yours, bud.
Okay. No, it was good chatting with him, and like he has the type of coaching style, and like his team plays really. And you heard it in the interview that I really kind of was trying to dig deep in kind of what he does and how he gets his players to buy in, and it was interesting, kind of, and it's all developed on relationships, man.
He does look like a player's coach, and he does look like a hard ass, but at the same time, he has the respect of his players.
As cliche as it sounds, you just got to care, man.
Yeah.
If you care about your players and like the program and everything, it's crazy how,
things, absolutely. And if you have that good and you know what, Shell, like we've done a really good job, I thought, with the Flyers over the past, I've been involved for 15 years or whatever it is now, but like, we always did a pretty good job of maintaining relationships with players throughout the season and all that. Obviously, as the head coach, it's always a little bit different because you do have to maintain that relationship, but at the same time, there is a fine line, right, during the season because you are the guy, right? You are the head coach. And sometimes when decisions come down, well, you're the one that makes them. So there can be a little bit of, but he talked about Patty Boyven, like, I'm sure Patty at times didn't always like the decisions that his coach made this year, but respected them because he respected his coach.
Yeah.
And understood why the decision was being made. And he said, like, Patty struggled at times. So it was my job to make sure that, we're here to win hockey games. Unfortunately, this isn't, I'm going to use a Josh Donaldson quote here, but this isn't the try league. It's the get results league, right? And it's the same thing in junior hockey at any level. So in any league, not at any level, but in any league. So great interview with Brandon, and really looking forward to getting him back on the pod in future episodes. We do have some really exciting news here. I've been thrilled ever since we got him to say yes. As we mentioned last week, Stats Guy Zach, who works behind the scenes a little bit, we got him on a third line. He's just sending in our stats as we need them. And unfortunately, our phone doesn't ring very often during our pod. But anyways, it is what it is. We take it as it comes with Stats Guy Zach. But we did convince him to jump on the pod. And I'm thrilled to welcome him to the episode number 2. And anyways, let's just bring him on. I'm too excited. Let's just bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, Stats Guy Zach. Stats Guy Zach, are you there? Can you hear us?
That's guy Zach.
Stats Guy Zach, are you there?
We tested this like 5,000 times.
I thought so.
And
I thought we had it.
anyways, we'll try to bring him in
Another segment?
another one. Yeah.
We'll
We'll try to get him
more.
back later. We'll work on it throughout the pod, and then we'll see if we can get him back a little bit later.
I'm really disappointed because I was
Yeah.
so excited for that. But
All right. Okay, we'll try again later.
all right. I'm sorry. I'm a little shaken up here. I'm a little rattled.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit of golf. We talked about Scotty Scheffler a little bit earlier. Obviously, he's the number 1 favorite going into this weekend's U.S. Open, the 3rd major of the year. U.S. Open. I didn't even check where it was hosted this year, but it is happening this weekend. First round starts on Thursday. As the tradition has it, the U.S. Open wraps up on Father's Day Sunday. So we will definitely not have another episode of the podcast that's going to be out before Sunday. So shout out to all the fathers out there that are listening. Happy Father's Day to all of you guys. All
Yes.
well deserved. And I know it was Mother's Day not long ago, but the Father's Day comes shortly after, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to head out golfing this weekend and catching the U.S. Open. So let's talk a little bit about obviously so far, it's pretty easy to think that Scotty Scheffler is the number 1 guy. Xander Schauffele has been, a really good player this year. He's played really well. If we look on the Canadian content, Adam Hadwin has been there. Nick Taylor is always in contention lately. So, I know you're a much better golfer than I am. I don't want to say bigger golfer, but you're a better golfer. What do you think of Scotty Scheffler's season so far and how impressive it's been?
It's Tiger-esque, man.
Yeah, it is.
What he's kind of doing, like he's winning at a rate that Tiger kind of did, but like there was a stat that came out that he has to like be number 1 for another 30 years to get what Tiger gets, something ridiculous, anyways. But I like what he's doing right now is incredible, and it's fun to watch. Like, golf is such a hard sport, and it's a hard sport to win a tournament. And like in the PGA, like it's insanely difficult. And you know what? Like to see these guys do that, you play four 18-hole rounds.
Yeah.
And there's so much, like there's somebody could be hot on a specific weekend, and you see all the names kind of, like some of the big dogs are kind of close to in the top 10.
Yeah.
But then there's always random names in the top 10.
There always is.
Yeah, like I won't say random because they're still in the PGA and everything, but like
they're not household names. That
not
we typically use.
exactly. And like and golf is a sport like that. You get hot, you get confident, you roll. But anyways, it's amazing what it's amazing what Scheffler's doing now.
It is.
Great.
So the 124th U.S. Open this weekend is going to be played at the Pinehurst Resort and Country Club in North Carolina. So I was able to pull that up myself because Stats Guy Zach couldn't get it to us in time. I think I don't know he might be sleeping. Not quite sure what he's doing. But anyways, one of the names for the U.S. Open this weekend, I think he's overdue. Like he's long overdue for a major championship. Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
Like Rory has been a household name here in Canada at the RBC Canadian Open every year. He's here. He's a household, he's a fan favorite. Man, I'm rooting for this guy. I mean, he's not Canadian. Don't get me wrong. Like he's not Canadian. I think he's British or something like that.
He's from Ireland.
Ireland? You're right. He is Irish, But man, he's as close as Canadian as it seems to get for whatever reason, just because of the attachment that he has to Canadian golf fans.
Yeah.
Being at the RBC Canadian Open, and he's been like long overdue for
Yeah,
a
and
major
he's a
championship.
huge ambassador for the PGA Tour, and
Huge.
so it'd be nice. It'd be very nice to see him.
Yeah, so
win.
that's one of the names that I'm looking for, and I'm really hoping that that he pulls through this weekend. But expect the big names to be there, right? Scheifele, Scheffler. I always get a little mixed up between the two names because they're so similar, but hopefully Rory, hopefully Hadwin, and who knows? What do you think of Tiger? Like, what you think he's just doing these now as like publicity stunts, or like do you actually think he may have another major championship in him?
He doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. But like, he probably still loves the game, and just
For sure.
and tournaments love having him there. Like, it's a pull, and
Regardless where he is health wise and where he is on the leaderboard, he is the number one attraction at any golf tournament he's at.
Yeah.
Like it's,
he just was so dominant for so long.
Yeah.
Like it.
All right, so we'll track that over the course of the next week, and then we'll talk a little bit about it next week on next week's podcast. Shifting gears to the Toronto Blue Jays, and we spoke a little bit about them. I know Shelley has some stuff to say about the Blue Jays, but two things I want to point out for the Blue Jays where they made a couple decisions this week. One of them was forced. The other one was a decision that management and coaching made. Alek Manoah announced that he's out for the remainder of the 2024 regular season and designated for assignment, which for those that don't know what that means, it basically means that the team doesn't want you there anymore and you've basically been cut from the team. Cavan Biggio.
Yeah.
Who I remember Cavan... Never been a huge Cavan Biggio fan, but last year down the stretch was the best Blue Jay and helped get them into the playoffs. So, a couple of major announcements there. I got to say one thing before you jump on about the Blue Jays. They've been playing better baseball, right? Like they split against the Orioles.
because they're playing against crappier teams.
Well, they split the Orioles, which is the cream of the crop in the American League East.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. But
But they got blown out in the two. They had a 4-game series. They won the last 2 games, but the first 2 games they got completely blown out of the Rogers Center. Right?
Yeah.
And then they played garbage teams. They lost in like extra innings to Oakland on Friday night, I think it was. They won Saturday. They won Sunday. I think they have an off day today. But like, where is this team going?
Well, that's what they have to figure out, because like I think they put all their eggs in one basket, obviously this year, and then it just seems like they're just like, okay, well, we didn't get him, so we're just we're riding the team that we have, which is just not a team that can win. No. Like they're like 500 maybe, I think, right now, or 22, 23 or something like that.
I think they're just one game under 500.
Yeah.
Which, and you know what? Like as bad as it's been.
Yeah.
I looked at the standings on Friday night, and as of Friday, and I don't even know what they are right now. I'll pull it up with Stats Guy Zach here.
It's just frustrating because, like it was a big hype that. We were getting Guerrero, we were getting, we were getting
Shohei,
and
we were getting
Shohei. Yeah, well, that was the him that I was referring to.
I know.
But like everything was on the up and up, and it just seems now like a rebuild's gonna have to happen, right? Like,
sadly.
Yeah, because like you had your big guys and.
And those big guys
the
have
end, I think,
not won a single. Never mind, like the team down the street from the Rogers Center has, at least gotten to game 7s. Like this core of Blue Jays players with Guerrero, Bichette, I'll even include, Biggio was there for a lot of years. Manoah. These guys haven't even won a playoff game.
Yeah,
they've been swept 3 straight years in the playoffs, dating back to like the COVID bubble stuff, right? So they're, as of today, Today is June 10th. They are 3 games out of a wild card spot, which is not that bad considering the fact that
June 10th today. It's my mom's birthday.
Oh, shout out to Cindy Riesbeck.
Shout out, Mama. Happy
There you
birthday.
go. Happy birthday, Cindy. Happy birthday. Absolutely. That's awesome. Sorry, I didn't even threw me off guard there. I didn't know it was her birthday today. Good for you. Good for Cindy.
Good
Happy
for,
birthday.
Good for Cindy. Good for
Happy
Cindy to be born on this day
Good
today.
for Cindy. What a day. What a day to be born. Nonetheless, June 10th, Blue Jays, 3 games out of a playoff spot.
3 games?
3 games. It's not that bad. And which is like kind of weird.
Is a testament to this season.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
No, it's like Louis Domingue would say.
Not the best.
Not the best.
Not the best.
It's not the best. But anyways, I'm really curious to see what happens with this team as it goes on. I'm actually scheduled to go to a game, the Canada Day game, July 1st with Houston. My wife and I are taking our honeymoon that week, so we're going golfing.
Can I come? I'm just kidding.
You're going to be gone out east, but no, you can't come to our
No, I'll be out east.
out east. Yeah, which we're
Eastern
going to still.
Canada.
Just for those wondering, we're still definitely going to be doing some pods.
Yep.
In 2 weeks from now, actually, you're going to be going to the. Tell us what you're doing in 2 weeks.
Yeah, going. Yeah. Where is that? Where is it? Let's get that going. So I'm going to Ann Arbor, Michigan, for the Coaches Site Conference. So it's a hockey conference where like a bunch of NHL coaches are making presentations. There's some on ice presentations too. So it'll be a good little learning experience for Shelley. And yeah, we'll be sure to fill in. Actually, we're gonna do one from Detroit. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we're gonna film one when I'm in Detroit. Yeah.
Who are some of the NHL coaches that are going to be there?
Assistant coaches.
Okay.
There's probably about 8 of them.
Okay.
I can get the list for the next couple pods, but
I think I saw, was it Carla McLeod as well is going to be there from the PWHL
yes,
Ottawa team? I think she's going to be presenting.
And there's which is really cool at this event. They have a kind of whole side thing,
okay,
which is just designated to women in the sport. So they're gonna have like women only socials. They're gonna have women only kind of workshops and shit like that. Okay. So like it's really cool that kind of the women's game is developing at that rate, and it's cool to see. And you know what, it'll be. I think you're gonna see more and more women kind of part of these conferences. So it'll be great. Great for the women's game. Yeah,
for sure. We talked about it last week about how the PWHL has changed women's hockey.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
will continuously change that. And this is a huge component of that, right? When you go to these conferences and stuff like that. So
yeah, it'll just make the game better.
Yeah. So we have next week's pod will be we haven't announced our special guest yet, and we won't just yet. We might have 2 next week. Might have 2 special guests next week. I think we're for the local people here in Kapuskasing, again, just a little bit of a teaser, but we're gonna have a local special guest, and then the fall, and then we're also gonna have somebody else. I'm not gonna get into it right now, but it'll be somebody else.
Don't spill the beans.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna spill the beans. But so two guests. That'll be the plan, I think, next week for next week's episode, and then the following week, Shelley's in Ann Arbor. We're gonna do another one from there. It'd be really cool if you were able to get like one of the coaches to come on the Coast to Coast podcast.
I'll see what I can do. We'll see. Yeah,
that'd be cool. Anyways,
yeah. Hey, I'll see what I can do.
I also, when I took you talk about coaching seminars and conferences, I took my HP1 in July of last year, 2023, or no,
Barrie, Ontario.
No, it was in Toronto.
Oh,
yeah. And one of the presenters was, I might not be pronouncing his name properly, but Dean Shinneworth. He was an assistant coach with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Even last year with who was the coach? Sheldon Keefe. He was one of the assistant coaches, and I just saw this week with the announcement of Lane Lambert, who's going to be coaching the Leafs as an assistant coach. Dean Chenoweth has been relieved of his duties.
Oh.
But I thought he was a really good presenter, really good speaker. And I really took a lot of what he said and tried to apply it to my coaching style.
You learn a lot of these things, man.
Oh,
Like, it's so
huge.
good. But yeah, so I pulled up the list. So you got Cale McLean, assistant coach, Calgary Flames. Ryan Warsofsky, assistant coach, San Jose Sharks. Brandon Norato, head coach of the University of Michigan. Gardner McDougall, from who's now going to be with the Wildcats in Moncton, who was coached in UNB. Yep.
Oh, he's there?
Barry Smith.
Sorry, that I got one thing to say about that.
Yeah.
We talked with Clabs last week about like the impact of NCAA hockey in U Sports.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, that signing by Moncton is an indication of that, like starting to like the CHL is kind of like worried a little bit, and some of the teams are worried that they're going to start losing players or you know whatever it is. Like they're
Yeah.
like that to me was just a sign that like we need to like bring in our really good quality coaches into the CHL to keep, you know, our players north of the border.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And like
thought
with
that
all,
signing was a
and
sign of that.
obviously we talked about it last week about just kind of what potentially could happen in the next couple of years, where they can, like, any player can go play in the OHL and then go to the NCAA after, which they can't right now.
Yeah.
But you know, it's
coming.
remains to be seen. Anyways, I'll keep going down my list here. There,
sorry.
Barry Smith, former NHL coach,
Yep.
7-time Stanley Cup champion.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Who did he win a cup with?
I don't know.
It doesn't say.
Yeah,
It doesn't say.
I gotta do my research. I wasn't ready for this
That's
segment.
guy Zach, can you get on that for us,
This
please?
is
Barry Smith,
not
7-time Stanley Cup champion.
part of the segment that we were supposed to do.
No, I know. It's an add-on.
Mitch Love, assistant coach of Washington Capitals. Tara Watchcorn, who's the head coach of Boston U women's team. Rob Zettler, assistant coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Ben Sexton, assistant coach of the Ottawa Senators. Tim Turk, who I've been following for a while. He's a shooting and scoring coach. So he'll be interesting to hear. And then there's a lot of people that are just kind of, they have their own hockey development companies, and yeah.
Okay.
And then, yeah, more assistant coaches, more head coaches of OHL teams and university teams, NCAA teams. But yeah, anyways, it's just
those NCAA coaches, they find their way to the NHL pretty quickly sometimes, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
so
there's even some coaches that are coaching, and so there's Ben Cooper. He's an associate coach for the Red Bull Salzburg. So that'll be interesting to see his European perspective for me, because I'm kind of, you know, going to coach in Europe next year. So, yeah.
Good for you, buddy. That's going to be awesome, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with you from over there. It'll be our first podcast away from each other.
Yeah, I'll be gone. I'll be gone for 3 weeks, so we'll be a few pods.
Few pods, but it's okay. We'll. I know we have one of our good buddies from PEI. Hopefully, we can get him on.
Yeah.
When you're down there, so that'll be awesome while you're out east. But yeah, so lots of interesting and exciting stuff happening on the Coast to Coast podcast every week. Obviously, we're still going to bring you the same banter and chatter that we usually do, also while filling in with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Before we let you go, Florida now has a 2-0 series lead as we record this live. So lots to break next week. Who knows what the series will look like next week? Obviously, I was rooting for the Oilers tonight, but as usual with Potts, whatever jersey he wears, the team probably loses.
Maybe we stop liking the Leafs then.
All right. Final shout out to our sponsor for tonight, Golfly. Experience and knowledge with turnkey solutions. Golfly brings a wealth of knowledge and experience working with small and medium-sized golf courses. From the back shop to the board of directors, turf management, digital marketing, and finances, Golfly has a wide knowledge of understanding of golf operations. Does this sound like something that you need for your golf course? Get started today. Golfly is offering National Golf Course Owners Association and Northern Golf Association members an exclusive 6-month free website subscription. Visit golfly.ca for more details and take your game to the next level. Huge shout out to Golfly. Thank you for your sponsorship for tonight's game. We'll see you next week. See, I ended it with an inability to speak.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
See you next week, everybody.
Bye-bye.